Well, today I'm going to show you how to make little tiny miniature gingerbread houses. And I'm sure most of you recognize what these are. These are, yes, indeed, Monopoly pieces. And most of us have an old Monopoly game somewhere in the house that we can raid just a few little tiny pieces from. So I've got these tiny little hotels, and I've also got the little tiny houses. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to paint and decorate them. So yes, once again, they come from the Monopoly game, which is a really common game that most people have somewhere in a cupboard in their house. I know my kids used to like to play it. It was kind of a Christmas thing. So I've got out a container of gesso. So gesso is a good way to cover up the plastic. It's really, really hard to paint straight onto plastic. So I would suggest you either use some kind of undercoat paint or primer, or in this case, I'm just using gesso. So I'm just completely painting over the surface of all of these pieces just to dull the red and green colors that are underneath. And gesso doesn't take very long to dry, which is good. I do have some spray undercoat that I could have used on it, or spray primer. But yeah, it's not really good to be breathing in those fumes in the middle of the winter. I can't go outside and do it, so it's just easier for me to use this gesso just to prime them up. So I'm just going to go through and paint each and every one of them, and then I'm going to let it dry for an hour before I can go on to the next step. So I do kind of like the way the gesso looks because it's going to kind of give it an unevenness that would exist if it were really made out of gingerbread. So I don't mind the fact that it's not like perfectly level and that there's little kind of anomalies, I guess you could say, in my paintbrush strokes. So sorry I'm getting a little bit out of frame. It's kind of hard to keep these tiny things in frame, but you can see my basic gist of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So these little houses are so easy to do up. And you know, the perfectionist in me wants to say that, oh, well, my little gingerbread houses are perfect. But you know, the real gingerbread houses that I made with my kids when they were small, they were never perfect either because I always let the kids decorate them. So I'm going to say that these little gingerbread houses that I'm creating would have been decorated by tiny little miniature children. That's my way of saying they're not perfect. So now I've got a brown acrylic paint, and I sped up the film because you don't need to watch me paint every single thing. But basically, I'm covering it with brown acrylic paint. Now, one coat is not going to do it. I'm going to have to go back in and do a second coat. But and I probably made a mistake here. I did paint the roof as well, which I don't want to be brown when it's all said and done, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. So I'm just going ahead and I'm just covering them with brown paint, and then I'm going to let them dry. Then I'm going to go in and hit them once again with like a second coat of brown paint, but that's my first coat. Okay, so you can see here they've all been painted twice and looking a little bit more like gingerbread. So I'm back with the gesso, and this time I'm just going to be going over the roof. And I'm looking for a lot of texture that would look like icing. So I'm putting that gesso on pretty thick. So now you could accomplish this same thing with white acrylic paint. I just happen to have the gesso. I like the thickness of it. And so I'm going to coat it first with gesso before I go ahead and paint it. So, and I'm trying to avoid getting the tops of the chimneys or the sides of the chimneys painted. I just kind of want to go in and paint the roof. So you can see it's kind of blobby, and I did that on purpose. So, yeah, see, I'm just kind of putting a little bit more on the edge and just kind of trying to fill it all in and make it look like icing, which in turn looks like snow. So, yeah, I'm quite pleased with the way that turned out. And the hotels are just going to be a little bit larger gingerbread houses. So once again, I'm putting a little tiny bit of icing, aka gesso, on the top. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with the way that looks. So yeah, these are, I don't know what it is about decorating for Christmas in miniature that's so appealing to me, but I think it's really cute when you're able to take your dollhouse and throw in a little Christmas tree and some stockings on your fireplace and put little Christmas decor items. I actually have a clock that I put in a previous video that I keep out all year round, and inside of the clock is actually a little Christmas scene that I did a few years ago, and I'm quite pleased with it. It's an antique clock that didn't work, and it would have cost more to fix it than what the clock itself is worth. So I turned it into a lovely little Christmas scene. So it's Christmas all year round at my house. I don't care though. I think it's like pretty cool. So now the gesso's dried. I've got out the white acrylic paint, and the white acrylic paint will actually cover a lot better than the gesso. The gesso, though, does make it look kind of a little bit lumpy, which is what I was going for. And so now I'm just going to go over the entire thing with white acrylic paint. So you can see here they look pretty cute. So not quite done yet though. So once you get decorating them, then they're really gonna take on a vision of their own. So I'm just kind of got a really super fine tipped little paintbrush here. Now this is where I say it really doesn't matter if your strokes are perfect or not. I'm just going for what it would be like if your children were decorating these little houses. So this is going to be less than perfect. So I'm just kind of painting in icing windows and a door, and yeah, so that's kind of the way it looks. So, which is really similar. Like, I mean, that's the way our real gingerbread houses have always turned out here at my house. So, yeah, so I think they're really cute. And they're so little. I mean, these are so tiny. Like, well, you can see what they look like compared to the size of my fingers. So they'd be absolutely perfect in any scale. So I primarily do 1/24 scale, but these little gingerbread houses would look good in, I think, any size dollhouse. Because, of course, gingerbread houses don't come in any specific size. Some people make really super huge ones in their real houses, and some people make little tiny miniature ones. I tended to make a whole bunch of miniature ones at my place, and the reason why is because I had lots of kids, and each child wanted to decorate their own little gingerbread house. So we always had a few of them, and of course some of them ate them right away, and some of them saved them till Christmas. That's just the nature of kids, right? So I sped up the film again so you don't have to watch me boringly paint all of these little pieces. So Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just putting little squares for little windows on all sides just so that you can see that they're decorated from all sides. And once again, it's just far from being perfect. I'm putting a little bit of paint dripping down that maybe look like icicles off of the roof, and painting each and every one of these, and putting a little bit of extra paint on the roof just to make sure that you can't see any of the brown shining through. So, oh, yeah, so um, yeah, I put a lot of paint on the roof. That's okay. That's two coats. So now I've got out my tacky glue, which I use on almost every project that I do. And I'm just going to put a little bit of tacky glue in a dish. And then I'm going to be putting the candy and the decor onto these little houses. So the paint is already dried on them. And so I've got a little blob of tacky glue out. And then you can see on the right, I've got this big sewing pin. And so I'm going to take the tacky glue, I'm going to take the sewing pin and dip it into the tacky glue, and then just put little dots all over the top of this little roof. And that's where, or how I'm going to attach the candies. So I've got some no-hole beads. You can see in the little dish there, and I'm just picking them up one at a time with the sewing needle and just pressing it into the glue. Now I know this is a little bit difficult to see, but I'm just putting them on just really super carefully. Now I don't do this with all of the houses. You can see the house on the top right, I've already done the roof, and I did it very systematically the way I'm doing this one by putting little dots on. On some of the others, I just painted the entire top of the roof with tacky glue and then just kind of shook some beads on top of it. So there isn't really a right or wrong way to do this. I think it looks kind of cute when you do it like one little bead at a time, but it's pretty painstaking. And if you don't have the patience to do it that way, that's okay. You can paint the entire roof with glue and then just sprinkle some no-hole beads on. Now, these no-hole beads came from the dollar store, and I'll show you the package of how they came. And but I mean, you could also buy them on Temu, or you can also get them on Amazon, I'm quite sure, or any craft store for that matter. And you don't even really have to use these beads if you don't want to. You could also use sequins or any kind of, sprinkles or, anything to make it simulate candy. So I guess sequins, you'd have to cut them up. So this is a little package that I got at the dollar store. So you can see at the top, they're kind of more sprinkles. And then I've got some shapes. And then those are the little no-hole beads on the bottom there. So these are pretty handy. I think that whole package was $4, and I've used it quite often in resin crafts. So you can see there, I'm just showing you that's the dish that I'm using with the glue in the center. And then I've got the pink no-hole beads and the blue no-hole beads, which is what I used for doing those first two little gingerbread houses. So now I'm pouring a little bit of so these aren't really glitter. They're more like little tiny miniature sequins. They're quite a bit bigger than glitter. So I'm just going to use those to do my front door. So I've just got two little spots of glue, and then I'm going to put a green one at the top and a pink one at the bottom. I guess I'm trying to think that maybe it might look like there's a reef on the door. And then I'm just painted on a little bit of glue, and I'm just putting some of those little sequin style glitter kind of around the little windows. So, I mean, it is a little bit painstaking, but it's quite doable. And you can see, like, my work is not perfect at all. I mean, the windows are a little uneven and they're not quite level, and the door isn't quite level, but, I think that's what gives these little things the charm. So now, after I'm finished doing that, I've got these little miniature candy canes. And so I'm just going to cut those up and I'm going to stick them onto it. If you don't have the miniature candy canes, it's no big deal. I believe I bought these particular ones at Michael's a couple of years ago, but they usually have them in their crafting section. If you don't have these little wire-based ones, you can also get the butcher's twine that's red and white at the dollar store as well. So you could use that instead of using these little wire candy canes. It's probably a waste to be cutting them up, but oh well. So I'm just going to draw a little line of glue on the side of the house and just stick that on there. There you go. So, and I'm going to do the same for each of the houses, just to give it a little bit of decor. I'm quite pleased with the way these have turned out. So I'm just sticking the little candy cane, and I'm actually going to put a little tiny piece of candy cane on each and every one of them. And because these little Monopoly houses are so small, I only had to cut up 2 candy canes, so that's not too big of a waste. So I'm just sticking that on the corner there. And the bigger houses, I'm actually putting 2 candy canes. And on the tiny houses, I guess this is the hotel, on the tiny houses, I'm only putting 1 piece of candy cane. So, so I would say that in real houses that we've built here at home, we always seem to put candy canes on them. So there you go. So this is the finished product, and I'm so pleased with the way they turned out. See the little hearts above each and every one of the doors? That also came in that kit from the dollar store. So those were sequins that were shaped like little hearts that I glued on above each and every door. And then I put some sparkles on the top, silver sparkles on the top of all of the chimneys. And you can see here, these ones here, I painted the entire top of the house with glue and then just shook the no-hole beads on the top, the same with this one. And then I put a line of green sequins on the roof of that particular one. And the little last one there on the right, this one here, I actually glued the little no-hole beads on one at a time and just did them in blue and pink. So, and you can see the little piece of candy cane that's glued on the top. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with them. Don't they really look like something a child would have decorated? If you enjoyed today's video and would like to help support my channel, you can do so by buying me a coffee. Just go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Lisa I'd like to thank everyone who has gone to buymeacoffee.com and bought me a coffee. It's appreciated more than you know. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. It's free to do so. And please hit that like button. And I love to read your comments. And thanks again, everyone, for watching today. And as always, have the best day ever. And Merry Christmas to everyone.